Welcome to Phonogenics 101, a Riotboy production hosted by Jeremy Gloff. The podcast where people who love music discuss albums track by track. Please hit subscribe, and if you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/Jeremy Gloff or Venmo @Jeremy Gloff. And now, on to the music. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Phonogenics 101. It's a bittersweet evening tonight on the podcast, as I know, a series that actually started way back in season 1, carried all the way through season 2, and then carried all the way through season 3, comes to an end tonight as we talk about the last studio Fleetwood Mac album. Now, there's always endless compilations and live shit and bootlegs and this and that. But on this podcast, we really, talk about the official studio releases mostly. And this is an album that's a little bit controversial because some people count it, some people don't. I feel like a lot of artists have that in their discography. On this season, we dealt with the Eurythmics' 1984 soundtrack. That's kind of like, is it an album or is it not? But tonight, we are talking about... Now, this is how I found the album when I was a kid. Fleetwood Mac in Chicago. My dad always talked about it. But there's a lot of different ways to get this album. It first came out on this CD, like this double CD. And then, of course, the Blues Jam at Chess was part of this box set. So I have all the different versions of the album. I actually listened to the Spotify Volume 1 and Volume 2 in preparation for this podcast. And then, of course, there's the beautiful book with all the photo sessions from the Chicago sessions. Tony couldn't be with us, but he did leave us some notes. So throughout the podcast, I'll leave us notes. If you like this podcast, hit subscribe. I'm going to be taking an indefinite amount of time off just to kind of enjoy my life a little bit because I reissued like 30 albums this year, released 2 new albums, did 50 episodes of a podcast, volunteered at a homeless shelter, got a new job. Unhoused is the word we're supposed to use. I run an event in Tampa that's like a showcase for local music. Like, I'm just out. Like, so I'm just gonna chill out. I'm just chilling out for a little bit. But you guys, thank you for walking through this. Jim, you've been there since the beginning of the Stevie Nicks ones, basically. I think you joined like Wild Heart.
I miss Belladonna.
You miss Belladonna. Nick, when did you come along?
So my first one was supposed to be the Out of the Cradle album, but I think I finally did join around Buckingham, McVie, and I think maybe we briefly discussed extended play on that too. I'm not sure if we actually got around to that.
And then Sam, you joined us this season because you're a big Peter Green fan, correct?
Yeah, I think was I there for the first record or did I come in on the second one?
I feel like you might have been there for the first one.
Yeah, it was one of the two. And then I stayed on for as long as Peter Green did.
Yeah. And then you make a little cameo. Peter Green would.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, Nick, I know that you did some research and know the history of this album. So do you want to kind of share what you know, and then we'll all talk a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was recorded in January. I believe the exact date was January 4th of 1969. However, it was not their third studio album that was actually released because Then Play On, some of those sessions had dated back to 1968, around the time that Albatross was tracked. They did a lot of Danny's back then, but the sessions proper, I would say, in terms of the versions that actually made the album, were done in April for Then Play On afterwards, but it was released in September in the UK. So there was a bit of an ordeal in terms of the label switch, where Mike Vernon, who is the producer and kind of the manager at the time of the band, not the manager, more of the producer, he actually forgot to renew the contract with the Blue Horizon with Fleetwood Mac. So Clifford Davis, who was their manager, noticed this. He was eyeing the day, making sure, keeping his fingers crossed that Mike would forget. Sure enough, he did. And then he kind of snatched it right under Mike Vernon's nose. So there was a point where the band was signed under immediate. Most of the band's catalog, I think at one point it was 100 tracks that they had recorded but not released. They were purchased by the band and they were slated to be put out, I think, for 12 tracks. That was what was put on New Musical Express and Melody Maker. In the end, I think 14 tracks were put on Then Play On for the original version. But however, there were two exceptions to that. So I think the one album with Otis Spann, where Mick Fleetwood did not play on it. That one was one exception where they had recorded the material about a week after they did Blues Jam in Chicago. And then also this album here too. That was one exception where Blue Horizon retained the rights to it, and they decided to release that at the very least this album right here in late 1969. And I think the one with Otis Spann, I think it was called Biggest Thing Since Colossus. That one also came out around that time too, for that matter. So in terms of the booking of it, Mike Vernon was able to get in contact with one of the individuals who had co-founded Chess Records. And the band at the time had been playing on what was their second North American tour. Their first one, they weren't able to get too much clout. The second one, they had a little bit more success here and there, but they were just trying to get familiar with the public, and then vice versa. The public was still trying to get familiar with them. At that time, really none of their material had really broken through. Their original album had reached 198 on the Billboard charts, and then their second, English Rose, they didn't get Mr. Wonderful, they got English Rose instead. That I think maybe got 184. Didn't really have any hit singles to their name, so they were very much unknown. Didn't really get, they got average reviews here and there. One, I think, really negative review from someone either from Billboard or Rolling Stone. So they were kind of getting their feet wet, establishing themselves in a country that had not received them warmly yet, whereas they were very popular, especially in the Nordic countries, whether that's Finland, Norway. And during that time, they had some off time where they wanted to capitalize on the idea of recording in some studios in the area, getting the opportunity, especially for Jeremy Spencer, to record with some of his idols. Unfortunately, a lot of the big profile names were unavailable at the time, or they didn't really know the merits of the musicians that they were asked to record with. However, I think one of the musicians who had played with Elmore James, he was available, and they were able to get about 7 or 8 musicians willing to contribute to the sessions. It was very much conducted in a transient manner where you had people coming in and out, where you would have 5 people in the studio or in the room at one time, and then they would record 4 or 5 songs together. Then you would have the drummer swap out or 2 guitars swap out. Then Jeremy would record some songs, and it would continue. There's kind of a bit of a dispute in terms of whether or not this was recorded all in one day or if a second day was booked. I think the official studio records, and this is documented in Christopher Hort's book, Strange Brew, that one day is indeed documented, and that the following day, I think Peter Green just did some jamming around Chicago, and then they did some studio gigs afterwards. So I think it was indeed recorded one day. They were able to get so much material done, and that's just because they called up a number, they got the musicians assembled, and then they hit record, and that whatever take was recorded, that's what was used on the record, or was just discarded until the remasters were actually assembled. So that's a bit of an overview. My apologies for rambling, but that is a comprehensive overview of what happened and what transpired for the album.
And one other thing, then we'll go to Jim. Didn't the producer hear that Chess Studios was closing? That's part of the reason why they went to record there, because it was going to be closing down.
I think the studio itself actually did close improper the following year in 1970. Right. Yes.
Okay.
All right, Jim.
Go ahead. Yeah, I read that in the Mike Evans Definitive History of Fluid Mac book, and I was trying to find something that could confirm it. Mm-hmm. And based on things in The Guardian, the studio did indeed shut down soon afterwards. Yes. So Jim, Nick, you can go ahead now.
Yeah, Nick, to take a bow, that was a great rundown.
Thank you.
And I pretty much read. I mean, you got this here. It had some, but you kind of tied it in a nice bow. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Great. And I'll just read. I just read a real, a short version of what I had and what I, deciphered. Released December 1969. Recorded January 4th of 69. Mike Vernon and Marshall Chess, son of the legendary Leonard Chess. Now, Leonard Chess, I mean, he started Chess Records, and there's a movie called Cadillac Records, and that's a great movie, and it kind of brings that, it puts a face on this album more or less, because some of the players in this session were characters in the movie. You know, I think Willie Dixon, what character was in the movie? I think it was Cedric the Entertainer played him. I could be wrong. I mean, I didn't kind of backtrack and confirm it, but um, it would have been cool if Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf would have been in there. That would have been something. So here, I'll go back to this. Yeah, Fleetwood Mac band members, Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, Peter Green, Jeremy Spencer, Danny Kerwin, along with Chess Record alumni, took part in this recording, live studio recording. The album did chart at 118 in the U.S. And for me, me and my wife picked this up as the Blue Horizon box set in the year 2000. I think it was released around that time, and we're just walking around in a mall or something, and we saw that and said, "Well, that's kind of cool." Kind of vaguely heard about it. I think the Ledge was talking about it, and then, okay, we'll just get this, and I'll play it. And let's see, I didn't play this album much because I played a lot of the live Fleetwood Mac shows from this time period, and this album seems more of the same music from that. Like, let's see, I played Jumping at Shadows was the tape, and the Boston Tea Party.
Oh yeah.
Those two, I had those. I played the crap out of them, and they're just really good. So, all right, that
All
was
right.
my spell.
Well, Sam, do you have anything to add here?
Excuse me. Yes. So one thing that's interesting, and I'm sure there were more bands that did this, but I know that the Stones and Fleetwood Mac, it was almost like a pilgrimage to go to at least visit Chess. And the Stones recorded there in the mid 60s. So it would make sense that a band like Fleetwood Mac that was very interested in Chicago blues would do something similar and record with their heroes. And I think when you look at the lineup of the players and the songs and things like that, if you're familiar, you'll notice some of these songs, Sugar Mama, Homework, like they were songs that Peter Green would play live that he would cover. And then you've got some Danny Kerwin originals on there. I don't think that there was a Peter Green original outside of is it Watch Out and then a jam or two, but he was really more, it seemed like Peter Green approached this like, I want to play the songs that were written or recorded here, and kind of just really play into the history of what influenced him. One thing I will say about this, I'm surprised they didn't do any Willie Dixon numbers because he played bass on this session. And
Quite a bit,
There might be
actually.
some.
they did.
Well, I'll have to go when we go through the song by song. I'll kind of pick up because I wrote down who wrote the songs on the notes, and I do have this
Okay.
here, and I think they just have it is some. I mean, I had to look it online. I had to
But
look
then
at the
again,
liner note.
yeah, I don't think they really ever covered any Willie Dixon stuff anyway.
Well, yeah,
But I mean, it was just, I mean, because
there's one.
he's the
There's one
legendary
in here.
writer of Chess. I mean,
Yeah.
but anyway, so I guess
He's in
he is.
accusatorily or whatever. Apparently, I mean, let's see. Where did I get the? Oh, that might be in the on the Genesis on the website of the lyrics, and it would show the writers and the lyrics and the writers and who sang on it, who played on it.
I pulled up
So
Wikipedia and
it was a hodgepodge.
Yeah, I don't have any writing credits for Dixon up here right now. They did a bunch of Elmore James, especially with Jeremy. They did a lot with David Edwards or one or two, Sonny Boy Williamson. They did a couple of those. And then just a few
Walter
instrumental.
Horton.
Yeah, Walter definitely had quite a few of those too,
Yeah,
for
he
that
was.
matter. And then the
Yeah.
instrumentals, they credit some of those to Green, and then the Danny
Right.
Kerwin compositions too, which are probably the most notable of the
I guess
collection.
like the last thing I want to tie this up with is like sonically, I feel like I don't love how it's mixed. I'm not a
Mm.
fan of drums in one ear, you know, bass in the other ear,
Right.
vocals down the middle. So I'd love. I mean, they probably only had an 8-track recorder there, I'm guessing. Um, and it was probably kind of like an old school. I mean, I know in the 60s that the early stereo recordings were mixed that way, and I almost want to be like, do I need to listen to it like this or something to get
Right.
the, you know, between the speakers? But so I would just listen to it in mono, and then it folds down nicely and it sounds fine. And
Mhm.
that's actually
Yes.
the old school way to listen anyway. But I mean, I listened to a Allman Brothers, one of their first two records the other day, and it was mixed like with the drums over there, and it just throws you off when you're in the car, you know.
Right.
But
And that's
anyway, that's subjective.
and that's such a sign of the times because that's how Christine's album was mixed, her debut solo album. That was around the same year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
hers was around 1970, if I'm not
Right,
mistaken.
yeah. Now, let's talk about how, this album was released a lot of different ways. So, the original release was actually these Blues Jam at Chess Volume 1 and 2, correct? They came out
Yes.
in England. And then, after Fleetwood Mac became popular with Buckingham Nicks, is when Sire Records started releasing things. So, this Fleetwood Mac in Chicago actually came out in like 75, didn't it? Or 76? A
How
little bit
many
later.
Yes.
tracks? How many tracks on that album?
Not as many. It's more abbreviated than the Blues Jam
Is
at
it like
Chess.
what, a single vinyl or is it a double
It's
album?
a double vinyl. So
Okay.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. There's 22 songs as opposed to like 42, right?
Oh, I wrote notes on every single one on the like the CD box set mess. It took me a whole day.
Oh shit.
It probably
Well,
took me longer to do that than they recorded it.
oh yeah, probably. Now, before we go into talking about the songs, didn't Peter Green denounce this in a 1999 interview and say that he didn't think the playing was that good and it didn't sound good?
He wasn't really ever fond of the playing. So there are a couple interviews around December of 1969 when it was released where he was saying, I can't believe they're releasing this old material. Like it's as if he didn't really want to be associated with it anymore because he felt that the band had moved on and made huge leaps with Then Play On. And
Which
he
they
even thought
did.
that Mr. Wonderful, they certainly did, yes. And he said that we're not even playing straight blues in our set list anymore, yet they're releasing this as if this is brand new. It's just not representative of who we are. And yes, the 1999 interview that you're referencing, he was also dismissive there. I think at the liner notes of the Blue Horizon release, the Complete Blue Horizon sessions, they kind of had it as almost the liner notes were formatted in a way where it was like a discussion between Mike Verdon and Peter Green, and Peter Green was also bashing the album there. And Mike said, "But don't you think Jeremy did a good job?" And Peter did agree to that and say, "Yeah, yes, Jeremy sounded wonderful on that album." So, if anything, Peter has voiced his disapproval. I haven't really seen anything from Jeremy or the rest of the band yet, but I haven't looked too much for that as of now.
Well, there's the two CDs, and here it's split into like four. So do you want to take it like quarter by quarter? I can read off like the first songs in the chunk. Maybe Jim, you can share the credits, and then anybody that has anything to share about those songs. Does that seem like a good
Sure.
format for this?
Let's make that happen. Sure.
Okay, now I know there's like a gazillion bonus tracks on the digital, so let's just stick to what was like on the Blues Jam at Chess original releases. And then if anyone wants to talk about any of the I feel like there's nothing on this album that was like groundbreaking. You know what I mean? Like they were just kind of fucking around with their idols, having a good time. But certainly no ground was tread. New ground was tread with this material. All right, so Volume 1. The first batch of songs, there's Watch Out, Ooh Baby, South Indiana Take 1 and 2, Last Night, and Red Hot Jam. So, Jim, do you want to start off by telling us the credits of that little block of songs?
Okay. And it seems, see, I'm trying to put a grasp of,
And am I going in an order that makes sense to your notes, or?
well,
I
yeah,
actually have it up right now if you want me to quickly
it's kind of,
reference it.
it's funny that this doesn't match the order of just playing it.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes I had to take Shazam out and say, what the heck? Oh,
No,
they flipped it. And it's a mess.
It's
So,
difficult to discuss it when it has so
yeah,
many
yeah,
different track
I would,
listings.
I would consider these like when you go to a four, like you go to a show that has a billing of four artists mainly,
Mhm.
and they'll play, and then another group comes on. But this is kind of like they're swapping out, and it's cool. They would swap out John for Willie Dixon and
Yes,
Mick for I think Leary,
SP
and
Leary. Yep.
yeah, and it's they sound both. I mean, the Chicago guys and Mick and John, they sound very similar to each other. If you're not, uh, like a standard upright bass, that's kind of John's style.
right.
So, um, it's just cool as hell. This is uh, an interesting relic, So, like Watch Out. Yeah, it's just with the members of Fleetwood Mac, Peter Green with a tasty guitar, Mick and John keeping good time. This is interesting that Peter doesn't start singing until about a minute and a half through the song. This recording sounds very clean and sharp since it was recorded in one of the best studios in the world. There's just, I don't know if there's like an echo to it. It's like, it's kind of, you feel like it's, I don't know. It's different than the English recordings of Fleetwood Mac. And these first songs are basically Fleetwood Mac.
Without
Ooh
Jeremy
Baby.
Spencer, though.
Right.
Yeah, they Jeremy sits out, and then he does his set. So it's really cool. I mean, Ooh Baby, Chester Burnett wrote it. Watch Out, Peter Green wrote it. It's given credit for that. Let's see, Ooh Baby, lots of banner and tuning at the front. Nice guitar orgasm by on the musical bridge by Peter Green. Nice work from for everyone. Now that guitar, that was sexy by Peter Green in the. I think he did two bridges, and that was some great playing. Just beautiful, man. So and let's see, South Indiana, Walter Horton. I think he's the harmonica. Yeah,
Yep.
nice jukebox blues. Lots of banner and tuning before uh, part two. Let's second try at this. Welcome to America, Fleetwood Mac. I mean, it was kind of. I got that feeling that they're here and they're doing Chicago blues, and this is kind of the first song that really was that. Last Night, written by Walter Jacobs, a slow grinding song, great lead guitar work by Peter Green, and rhythm guitar by Danny Kerwin. Walter Horton again on harmonica. He's a good player. Let's see, Red Hot. Is that still the same group?
Yep. This is
Red
the
Hot
last
Jam.
one of the first group.
Yeah, Red Hot Jam 1 and 2. Sound like Peter wrote it. You can tell when Peter Green jumps in this jam. Just the boys from different worlds having fun. Everyone gets a turn at showing their skills. The room may be crowded, but a very good jam. I'm getting to
There
be a
you go.
pretty good reviewer.
There you go, Jim Miller. Shit. All right, so Sam and Nick, what do you want to add on top of this for this set of songs?
I'll quickly give my thoughts. So the one that stuck out was "Ooh Baby," and the reason for that is because I recognized the guitar riff from "Long Gray Mare" from their very first album.
Okay.
It has that exact same guitar riff, the exact same lineup. So Danny played on most of the tracks within that first grouping, but Danny, for whatever reason, sat out of that track, and I thought that it would have benefited from it. I know that Sam was mentioning that it was a bit stark listening to the songs in stereo when you only had the guitar put on one channel and you had nothing on the other for a bit, where you only had the drums or the bass and then the guitar and then the vocals on another. I found that it was most stark and noticeable for that song because elsewhere on the album, you mostly have at least two guitars. And when you don't have two guitars, you either have some piano playing, a saxophone, a harmonica, or like even three guitars in some cases, filling out the sound. And then even the
Uh-huh.
block playing of the upright bass, that covers a lot of sonic ground too, for that matter. But it was just very empty, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I know Mike Vernon is a huge fan of outtakes. So on the digital releases, you'll find that there's a lot of studio chatter both at the beginning of the track and at the end of the track. That was a deliberate decision on Mike Vernon's part because he felt that it gave the full picture of what the studio
Yeah.
sessions were actually like, all the banter. And there are some points of relative contention where people are saying, hey, we should not have ended that song that early. I wanted to do one more run through. Or you have SP Leary sparring with another musician. So, some of it you could skip through it, where it's just people fooling around, doodling on the guitar, Mick hitting the snare drum 3 times.
Right.
But that's something that Mike Vernon valued, just kind of keeping for the sake of posterity, I suppose. And for those who really enjoy it, you have it at your exposure, or you have it available at your leisure to listen to whenever you feel like it. But if you want to just get through the album, sometimes it could be a bit of a slog where you just have to keep skipping through it, or you have to scroll through it when the song actually starts.
Right.
I mean, to me, I see that there is indeed some value. I mean, the songs are generic enough where it's just a very casual setting, and I can tolerate some of the banter and some of the doodling.
I love
I think
the
it's fine.
I love the accents, the Chicago blues guys, and kind of a deep baritone,
Yeah.
and the English guys, and I think it was Vernon. It was kind of a it's he's in the booth or something, and it's a little bit it's tinny. It's like it's not
Yes,
much
definitely.
bass in that voice. It's pretty cool, and it's amazing that these guys were just on the same page, more or less. And what kind of probably lots of drink and cigarettes and whatever that kept them going through the day, kept them rolling on this.
They did the same thing with the digital versions of the first couple Fleetwood Mac albums. I really thought it was a
Yes.
disservice to the album for those ones, especially. With this one, I feel like the banter maybe makes a little bit more sense than those studio albums, but I'm glad I have the CD version without the banter, so I can have both. Sam, what are your thoughts on this first quarter?
So
Where are
yeah,
we at?
I do think that the banter is interesting, but it's like I don't want to listen to the banter every time I play a record. So I got these both digitally, like maybe like 15 years ago or something, from like Amazon Music, where you could buy, just the like I don't even know if Amazon has a music player anymore, but um so I just have like the MP3s, but I have them on my Apple Music and stuff like that now too, my
Right.
own personal one. But anyway, um, I kind of want to go and find like an original pressing or something, because I'm gonna guess there wasn't banter on the original, but
No, no, they're not. Maybe a tiny bit, kind of
okay,
like the Maid Madge or whatever, and then play on. Like you can hear him talking a little, but not
Yeah.
throughout the whole damn thing.
right? Because if you look at the track listing on the from the original pressing, most of the timestamps are pretty reasonable. So it's like, that okay, that's a 4-minute song. That's probably about right, and there's no banter. Um, and that first group of songs is interesting. I think that they had released a Fleetwood Mac version of Watch Out on a different compilation album, right? Is that right? Like one that was recorded in England. Um,
It could have been I'm not sure if it was Pious Rose. They
Yeah,
did a lot of those archival
Right.
releases kind of scattered throughout the 90s, early 2000s. They did a few in the 70s here and
and
there,
from what
though.
I remember, I feel like this version of Watch Out is like a little bit more like slower and groovier or something. if I remember correctly, than the other recording of it. But it is, that's just Fleetwood. Like it looks like, if these credits are correct, that's just Fleetwood Mac, the band, on that very first song, warming up, and then you get into adding some
Jeremy
different
said.
musicians throughout, playing with Fleetwood Mac. So it kind of looks like they structured this in a way, maybe to kind of tell difference, because the original, is a double album. So it's like,
Right.
maybe they were trying to say like, oh, the side A was similar, and then side B, you've got Jeremy stuff coming in.
Right.
Anyway, it's interesting to look at the original track listing, and I would like to get myself a copy of this, because I've been living with the MP3 chitter chatter version, and honestly, like, I think that kind of keeps me away from it. I don't need the Ken Burns documentary of the record. I just want to jam. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So, but the playing, I listened to it a little bit today, and I'm like, it's super clean. It reminds me of the first album, really, because you don't have brass instruments on every song like you do Mr. Wonderful.
Right. No
Pretty much every
Christine.
song. And no Christine. Yeah. There's piano, though, which I think is always a great accompaniment to any blues trio or quartet. But um, I don't really have too much outside. I thought that version of Watch Out is interesting. The jam is supposedly features Buddy Guy on there. I'd have to go back and
Okay, yeah.
listen to that again. Peter
Um,
Green, Buddy Guy playing together is pretty cool.
there's a like a contract thing, and somewhere he's listed as Guitar Buddy.
Right.
That's
But
why,
it's
yes.
Yeah.
so
That's hilarious.
All right.
And then
Well,
Watch Out was indeed released on a compilation album, and it was the original Fluid Mac, which
Yes,
was issued in 1971.
right. The
Yeah,
one with the
that's a
four
great-
pictures of them on the.
Yeah, that's a great record too.
The four
That's-
quadrants, more or less,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I love that.
All right. Well, should we move on to the second quarter of songs? That will be I'm Worried. I Held My Baby Last Night. Madison Blues. I Can't Hold Out. I Need Your Love. And I Got the Blues. Jim, do you want to start with your...
let's see. I'm Worried. Yeah, Elmore James song. This studio really makes Jeremy's guitar and vocals really pop. Whoever mic'd the instruments or ran the boards deserves an award. Now, on a recording like this, how's the guitar? Does it go into, or is it? Does it go into an amp and then it goes in the room and then it's recorded? It's just kind of.
It depends,
It
really.
depends on the situation. So sometimes you have the guitar set up and then you mic the amplifier itself, and then you can sometimes get the room ambience as well. For guitars recording direct, it's used sometimes. I would say it's more common with the bass guitar in particular. In terms of the method used for this session, I cannot confirm either way what method was actually utilized, but I would assume that was probably an amplifier that was mic'd.
Yeah,
That'd be the safe bet.
Like the upright bass is going to have to be mic'd right there.
Sure.
Yeah, you can hear the strings being tapped and slapped. There's a lot of definition there.
It's just a George. Yeah, this is some. For like a purist or an old analog person, and just a nerd, this is just a great, interesting, because of the time. Now it's all done on a computer, and it's like sterile. This is kind of real, and
There it is.
alive. So, okay, did I'm Worried? I Held My Baby Last Night. I think written by Jules Jacob. I love the sax work. J.T. Brown. Let's see. Elmer James, I think, get a credit here. A nice standard blues run through. Next, Madison Blues. I had this on from the live versions in the cassettes I found, like Boston Tea Party, Up in the Shadows. Maybe it was on both. I can't remember. I really love this song from that, and nice professional recording. I know for a live concert because it seemed to be faster and looser on Madison Blues. I Can't Hold Out. It says Willie Dixon wrote this. Funny banner at the beginning. Once again, I'm more familiar with the Boston Tea Party version. A very good, clean recording of this. I Need Your Love, credited William James Rogers. Nice interplay with Walter Horton. And this is where Otis Spawn shows up on piano. Interesting mix of Chicago players and Fleetwood Mac players. I think Christine would be very jealous of this. She's not there. So, and Bobby's Rock, let's see. Is this where we cut off, or is this the next set?
What's the name?
Bobby's Rock.
That's I think that's a digital track. So what I have here is I'm worried. I held my baby last night. Madison Blues. I can't hold out. I Need Your Love, and I Got the Blues. Are the original vinyl tracks?
Okay, yeah, Bobby's Rock. I'll just read what I said.
Okay.
Great guitar work from Peter and Honeyboy Edwards. I like how they switch out players on this album, like I said before. For instance, Mick will play on a song without John McPhee and vice versa. Another nice, pleasing jam. The next is Horton's Boogie Woogie. Let's see, what did I say there? Sounds. Oh, this is pretty cool. I kind of. This sounds a little bit like Van Halen's Ice Cream Man. Have you ever heard that? It's got like David Lee Roth, just pretty much an a cappella and a little bit of guitar. And it really has that. But members of Van Halen were big Fleetwood Mac fans. So, maybe they'd heard this and did Ice Cream Man. It has that. If you ever heard, that's on Van Halen 1, I think.
Which song
Ice
are you?
Cream Man. Ice Cream Man, Van Halen.
Yeah, but which one from here are you talking about? From the
This
Fleetwood
is a Horton Boogie Woogie.
Oh, okay.
And I say it's a jam with no real punchline. It's just kind of like, what's the next? What's the punchline? It's a nice little play, and I think it may have influenced Van Halen. But what's the next? What's the next thing? What's it mean? What's the kick at the end? It just didn't have that.
Well, a lot of Horton songs in particular were discarded from the final release, and Mike Verdon mentioned this in the part 2 of the liner notes, and that Horton had a bit of a haphazard way of recording where he wouldn't give the band any cues whatsoever. He would kind of do things on a whim, where he would have his microphone set up for his harmonica, and then for his vocals, he would use the harmonica microphone for his voice. Then he would just wander around a bit, sing some lines. So he didn't have the highest fidelity in terms of the vocals. And then before Mike could even ask them to do a second take, he would already move on to the next track. So most of his material, suffice to say, just went on the deluxe editions, the re-releases.
Right.
And we can kind of get an understanding of why that was the case. There's some moments of magic here and there, but are they necessarily up to par to appear alongside some of the other tracks that have more polish? I would say no, they don't.
Jim, there's one more song. I Got the Blues.
Okay, I got the... Is that what that is? That's funny. I just looked up the lyrics, and I have some kind of a... let's see. I Got the Blues, Walter Horton. A standard swaying blues song with a big false start at the beginning. Some lyrics may be very suggestive, but my dialect could be off. It's kind of like it's coded or something. Ethnic or something. I'm not being, but there's something in here. I got the lyrics up. Oh, and it says, I can't even gun and butter, but I feel myself sinking down. Now, I looked up the term gun and butter. That's kind of like a government term for like a military and like food, and what is, and there's another line. It says, want to get a second time the rails in the hole, baby. That sounds very sexual, but yeah, all right, without saying. Let's see, did I yeah, I'm finished with that.
All
that
right.
was
So that's part 2. So let's go backwards. Sam, do you want to start this section off?
Oh boy.
We're on the second section still, right?
Yep,
With
second
Jeremy
section.
Spencer, yeah.
Okay, I think I'll just highlight one song that sticks out to me for each section.
Okay.
And for this one, it's I Need Your Love. And not to be confused with I Need Your Love Tonight or Baby I Need Your Love or the multiple ways I've heard that song titled with the strings with Peter Green on vocals. And this is actually I'm really fond of this song for two reasons. And one reason is this is like Chicago blues to a T. You know, the up tempo shuffle and everybody's just killing it. I mean, there's some licks that Peter Green is playing and he doesn't really step out. It's mainly harmonica keyboard show, but there's some licks in there in like the middle where he's hitting triplets and then does his classic bend with vibrato, and it's just like, oh, I just wish he played a little bit more. But the other reason I like this song so much is because there's actually a bootleg version from the BBC broadcast sessions, and for many years you could only get it. Um, you know, you'd have to find some obscure low fidelity bootleg where the band plays it at the BBC studios and Peter Green is playing harmonica. And it sounds like maybe Jeremy on piano. Um, but and I'm not sure who plays. There is a rhythm guitar, but I'm not sure if it's Peter or I think it was before Danny joined. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Peter Green plays harmonica and he sings through the harmonica mic, and it's like it's just really raucous and one of my favorite songs that they did at those sessions. And they did release it, which is kind of like a questionable release that they've had within the last few years. Remember, they put out it was like the
Live at the BBC. Is that what you're referring to?
yeah, but not the original one. It was one that just came out a few years ago that they included some bonus tracks and they like pressed it on vinyl and stuff. And I mean, to me, it sounds like, and there's a live show on there too.
Okay.
I'll look it up on when I punch out for other people to talk. But so you have to look up that because it's basically they found bootleg recordings and they released the album, and it's no different. But they label it something different than what it actually is. And Christopher Hort, who you were talking about, whom I love as an authoritative figure on British blues, actually wrote the liner notes for this re-release, and I'll look it up in a minute here. But I think they included that as one of the bonus tracks. But it's it's just a fun song to jam to, and I'm a big fan of it. Oh, speaking of, I heard Jim mention this earlier about Mike Vernon's tinny voice coming. Well, he's coming through the talkback mic, and they're notoriously very small microphones, so it's compressed his voice and has cut a bunch of frequencies out of there. But yeah, that is cool to, especially when Peter says, "I always knew you were a bum producer, Vernon."
Was it before the beginning, the live and demo sessions?
Yes, yeah, and those aren't demos. They're done at the demos are from they're just BBC outtakes that were never they weren't included on the original CD. And the other is a show that has existed as a bootleg for years. I think it might be from San Francisco.
All right, Nick, what's your take on this quarter?
So this was more or less Jeremy Spencer's part of the album where we had established this earlier in the podcast, the first few episodes, that Jeremy really wouldn't play much on Peter's songs, and that largely carried through vice versa with Peter just sitting out of Jeremy's. But we do have Danny providing some support, to my understanding, on a few tracks. I just need to look at the liner notes to confirm that. But even if he's not on there, there's certainly enough with support with the tenor saxophone, some piano here and there. Yes, I do see Danny credit on, say, Madison Blues, for example. I Can't Hold Out. And based on how the recordings are set up, based on what we hear right before the song starts, it sounds as if Jeremy's just saying, all right, let's play this song now. Mick, you got it? Great, let's run through it. And then they would do it. And a lot of these selections are Elmore James. He's more or less a disciple of Elmore's playing. And I think that Jeremy sounds incredible on these selections. I would say that it's probably some of his best work with Fleetwood Mac, at least on a recorded album. In terms of live shows, he's had some electric performances too, but I don't think that we've really captured them, or they weren't able to capture the magic of Jeremy Spencer's playing on any of the other studio releases. Certainly not Mr. Wonderful, even though that's what they tried to go for. And even with their first album too, they didn't really necessarily hit the mark. And by the time they got to Kiln House, Jeremy was doing something a bit different, where he was kind of more doing it from a novelty approach. Here we get Jeremy's prowess on full display, and I love that. And I can definitely understand why he was heralded as a terrific guitarist and why he was handpicked to accompany Peter as the band's second guitarist at one point. It's just disappointing that they weren't really able to take advantage of Jeremy a whole lot, or that he wasn't really willing to participate in a studio sense on a whole lot of their material. Here, wonderful though, like him.
Well, here's Tony's notes before we finish up disc one. So Tony said on the first disc, the first four Peter Green tunes are really solid. His guitar tone is sweet. His approach to the material is at once respectful of the blues tradition, while also letting in some clear rock influences. Of his tunes here, my favorite might be the first, because that is solely made up of the Mac lineup: Green, Kerwin, McVie, and Fleetwood. But all four are good. All four songs are heavy on instrumental passages and use of spare lyrics. He's clearly foregrounding his guitar skills, ice his vocals, which I guess is not surprising. Not crazy about any of the Jeremy Spencer-led tunes. They feel monotonous and dull by comparison. My favorite moment on record one is Walter Shaky Horton's incredibly expressive vocal on I Need Love. Terrific tune. So that's Tony's summation. Any other thoughts on disc one from anybody here before we move on to volume two?
Well, it just demonstrates kind of the transient nature of how the sessions were conducted, where Peter gets his grouping of the songs and then they go on to Jeremy. And I think Mike Verdon mentioned in one of the liner notes that pretty much how the track listing is organized is how the songs were recorded in sequential order, more or less, with maybe one or two exceptions. And you had people kind of dropping in and out. I think one of the guitarists, it could have been, I'm blanking on their name, but I'll pull it up very quickly in hopes that I find it. I think it could have been Honey Boy Edwards. It was either him or Buddy Guy, where they were only able to stick around for a couple of songs, and Mike Vernon wished that he pled with him to stick around at least for a couple more songs.
All right,
so
well,
that's it for me.
We are moving on to volume two. We're gonna go back to Jim. The group of songs here are Worlds in a Tangle, Talk With You, Like It This Way, Someday Soon Baby, and Hungry Country Girl. So Jim, what are your notes on this little block here? Oh, I gotta unmute you. I muted you for a second because there was some surface noise coming through. Sorry about that.
Well, I was shuffling around, getting to this next phase.
All right, perfect.
Finding the liner notes and whatnot. Okay, let's see. Interesting blues song about the war against communism, but it could also be interpreted by avoiding the draft. A different sounding vocal by Danny Curran. I couldn't really find a firm information on who wrote the song. It would say Jay Lane, James Lane, Jimmy Rogers, and just different places where they have different writer information. So that's a pretty, for that time, you know, it's like the one line says, I won't, I'm going to go in the army, babe, won't be no more reds around. So that's a very, like a in a way, a patriotic song. If you will, I know it's kind of cringy, but you know, and it's like I'm gonna go dig a cave. Let's see. I'm beginning to feel I'm worried. I don't know what to do. That's why I'm gonna build a cave, myself a cave, and move in the ground. So it's like, is he trying to avoid, you know, being drafted? I mean, it's kind of confusing, but it's interesting nevertheless. Let's see. Talk with You, Danny Kerwin. I really like this. It's a good hybrid of British blues and Chicago blues. Gorgeous musical bridge. The subject matter is quite.
Sorry about that.
You checking the
Hi,
weather?
Jim. Yeah,
I
sorry.
could be. I can be putting Monday Night Football over here if I wanted to. Let's see.
I'm
Gorgeous
so freaking
bridge.
out about that hurricane that's hitting Jamaica. I just feel terrible about it.
Yeah.
Terrifying,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so sorry
Yeah.
about that. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, the subject matter is quite familiar to me. It's kind of a relationship songs. So let's see next. Like It This Way. Yeah, Otis Spawn really adds to this with piano playing. A lot of Southern rock was built on this riff. This reminds me like the Allman Brothers, maybe some Skinner riffs. Uh, Danny's vocals is buried a little in the mix. This is great, but other live versions are my favorite. Let's see. Let's go. Someday Soon. Looks like Otis Spawn wrote this. Otis is a pretty good singer. Yeah, he's the lead on this. A little long at 7:30, but enjoyable. It is wild that this was done in a day with a lot of shuffling lineups.
Great.
Let's see. We're going Hungry Country Girl, Otis Spawn again. Nice monologue before the main body of the song starts. Fleetwood Mac sets a nice slow groove to this. Being from the country myself, I can relate.
All right. So, Nick, let's have you take this one away.
I don't think it's one of Danny's best performances, certainly by a long shot. Like it this way is probably his most well-known song from this collection that they've played it live on several occasions, and I mean, especially for the Peter Green era, in terms of that perspective, it's one of their more popular videos on YouTube. And one of my first, it was a pretty early exposure of Danny's work, just seeing him playing that song. And I think there's one point for that video where Danny actually breaks a string. He kind of breaks a laugh and then keeps playing. It's a fun little cute moment. Uh, But in terms of this span of the album, I can really just do without it. I don't think that it really lands well.
I felt like some of the lyrics on Like It This Way, because I feel like Danny's kind of a gentle soul, but he's like, no matter what you say, you're gonna like it this way. I'm like, ooh, that's a little aggressive. That's a
Very
little
much so, yeah. And then Mike Vernon mentioned in the
A good
liner
one.
notes that his working of Jimmy Rogers' Cold War inspired The World's in a Tangle might be considered to be something of an odd choice in view of the lyrical content,
Okay,
but it
yeah.
stands up well. So he is attributing the work to Jimmy Rogers.
Mhm.
But I am seeing in other liner notes it being assigned to a different lyricist.
Yeah.
But I think Jimmy Rogers, to my understanding, is the person responsible for the song.
all right. Well, Sam, what are your thoughts on this quarter?
Um, well, if you don't own the biggest thing since Colossus, you should. That goes to
Okay.
anybody who's a fan of the blues, because Otis Spann is awesome, and I really like what he brings on not only his own songs, but his playing on Like It This Way, for instance, is great.
Right.
I think that was a song that it seemed like they never, because there is a version of it. I think they cut it when they cut Man of the World, and they didn't
Mhm, they
release
did.
it at the time. It just seemed like sort of tepid compared to the live versions, and but this version here in the studio, I think sounds great, and I think the piano really is an asset. So it like adds a new element, and um, I think that their guitars. I mean, they're definitely playing loud, and they're just turning up Fender amps. According to these pictures in this book I have here, which Jim, you should get a hold of it. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good
All the
book.
pictures reveal exactly how they had everything mic'd up and everything
Yeah.
in the studio. It's very live, all one big room, classic recording method, and great, phenomenal pictures and forwards by actually Mike Vernon and Marshall Chess. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, um, I do like Danny's performance. I did think that was interesting that he chose World in a Tangle. 1969, different world than today, pretty much.
This is very.
Um, and I guess that's all I'll say about that. Because I don't really have any strong feelings. But Hungry Country Girl is probably my favorite of this set just because of how out there it is
Yeah.
and the what do they call that? And
Maybe look at the lyrics again.
it's like in opera they'll have it like the spoken word part before they go into singing or whatever. But that's what it reminds me of, like, or no, I think it starts with a O, like oratory or something. I don't know. Anyway,
Oratorio?
maybe, yeah, but it's like a spoken word thing. I don't know if that's the right word, but
I don't think it is.
no, it's like I'll look it up, but it goes back to when I studied music in college and some useless knowledge that would have been appropriate here.
It's
But
not ostinato, I know that. I'm trying to think of other O words that could be applicable.
yeah, it could be an A actually too. Sorry, A. But anyway, another great pianist who does that is Champion Jack Dupree. If you've ever heard of him, you should, or if you haven't, like check him out too. He actually had a great album that he did where Mick Taylor plays a lot of the lead guitar on it. And then, of course, fast forward a few years, and Peter Green plays on Memphis Slim's album. A couple actually, I think they did with Memphis Slim, but the one after he quit, Fleetwood Mac, is a pretty cool album. I love piano players, especially blues and boogie woogie piano and stuff. I can't play it, and I think it's just fantastic to listen to. So I always kind of gravitate towards that um, whenever I listen to music out live, or if I play with somebody, I'm a guitar player. I would rather play with a piano player than a second guitar player.
Hmm.
All right. Well, I guess we are moving on to the last quarter of the album. We have and I'm Jim, you probably have all the bonus tracks, so just I'll read off what I got here, but whatever you have is totally cool. Blackjack Blues, Every Day I Have the Blues, Rockin' Boogie, Sugar Mama, and Homework are what we have here. So what are your notes on this final section here?
My turn.
Yeah.
Okay. Blackjack Blues. J.T. Brown's got the credits. Another good mix of musicians on this song. A nice, easygoing blues song, like farming, gambling is a card game. These last two songs kind of fit together. So if you're a farmer, you're just playing a card game. Okay. Every day I have the blues. Memphis Slim is the credit. Jeremy Spencer comes back in the mix. Good interpretation of Chicago blues. A good job by everyone. Rockin' Boogie, Jeremy Spencer. I think he wrote that. A rockabilly. I already like this. A rockabilly feel to it. An up tempo song that was needed here. Nice danceable jam. Uh, My Baby's Gone credited Elmer James. Note let's see. Oh, I think this is where the lyrics I couldn't find on the internet lyrics to like the last five or six. So I was kind of flying blind here. Um, yeah, the lyric sheet doesn't have much more information here on out. A basic mid-tempo blues song, nice slide guitar work. It said Buddy Guy and Peter Green. Vocal, only hear Buddy's playing. Okay, Sugar Mama, 1 and 2. Credit to Howlin' Wolf. Peter Green in fine singing and playing, formed despite the multiple false starts. It must have was a hot mess until they got it right. Homework. Now, okay, credit to Dave Clark, Al Perkins, Otis Rush. That's what it said. Very similar to the Playboy Club live version. It has a nice flow to it. Peter Green does a good rap-like vocal to this. I mean, Peter probably could be a good rapper in some ways.
Does it on a well.
Yeah, that's true.
That's basically a rap. Yeah. That's probably why rap kind of translated, because there's a lot of songs that have that sort of I don't know, cadence. So like you put NWA's, stuff. It's just some boys having, they're doing boy stuff. They're thinking about boy things. Okay, let's see. Yeah, let's see. I think I pretty much covered that. Where do I stop? Honey Boy Blues, Dave Edwards, a credit, a nice slide harmonica run through. I'll just go to the end.
Yeah, go ahead and go to the end.
Because I Need Your Love, William James Rogers with a credit. Nice piano work by Otis Spawn. And Walter Shaky Horton on vocals. A good job, Fleetwood Mac. I guess they must have been. Where's Need Your Love? Is this written in here?
I mean, the track listing is very confusing.
Yeah,
just
the track
because
listing
it's
is
been
confusing.
re-released and
This
so
might
many
not
different
be.
iterations.
This is probably where it cuts off from the liner notes.
Yeah.
Maybe that is the case. Yeah.
Horton's Boogie Woogie. Walter Horton wrote this. Another steady little jam. A lot of good band interplay. Let's see. Have a Good Time. Looks like Willie Dixon is credited. Horton on vocals once again. Another good swaying blues effort. What's Wrong? It sounds like Horton and Spawn have taken over this jam. A nice mid-tempo song. Rock Me Baby. On this home stretch, the Fleetwood Mac players didn't want to step on anybody else's toes and just played along. I mean, they were in the room, and they didn't want to add kind of their flavor. I got that impression on like the last six.
Yeah.
They were Fleetwood Mac players. They were not necessarily hired hands, but I didn't think they pushed their personality much.
I think that's why those were all probably bonus tracks.
Yeah, they just didn't really know the material.
Yeah.
They didn't know the material at all. And Horton just told them the general structure. Well, I don't think even the structure was outlined too much. So they're good musicians, so they can use intuition, but the intuition can only go so far. And when you're trying to follow a structure, you try not to take too many risks because you're getting recorded, that the material that you're recording might be used. So you play it very safe. That was likely the mindset that was employed. And as such, that's probably why you're viewing it as very tentative in terms of the approach that the band took, just because they didn't really know the song.
All right. Well, Nick, do you want to take your... Jim, do you have anything else on this section?
No, that's good. I think we really covered this rather well tonight. Well, you got to pull information from here, and
it's difficult, really.
What kind of comes to mind, because you're kind of getting, because we did all these other Fleetwood Mac records, and this is kind of okay. This is what they're trying to say, or what's their approach. So, okay,
yeah. So I can quickly go through the liner notes. Just to give a brief synopsis over any key details surrounding some of the tracks. So I think with the Blackjack Blues, Mike Vernon mentioned that there was a guitar out of tune, and Willie Dixon was a little bit upset about that. So Every Day Have the Blues. Let's see. Nothing really notable there that I'm seeing. I'm just going to quickly go through these because I don't have too much to say about them. They're just fine blues songs that were ran through once or twice, and then they put them out on a record. I think Jim was mentioning there was one song, I think it was Sugar Mama, where Peter made some sort of offhand remark at Mike Vernon of, I wish you were competent behind the mixing board. That was the one where he calls Mike Vernon a bum. That's the song in particular. And they did a couple of takes of a Sugar Mama, actually. I think 3 are documented. So perhaps they wanted to get something worthwhile. And then I think Mike also mentioned that around the end of the recording session, he felt the need to try to squeeze out more material from the band to get as many options available as possible. And that's why Homework was recorded. It was kind of a last minute addition. And it's one of Peter's more popular covers. I think there's a video on YouTube of the band doing it at some sort of venue, either in France or Norway.
That's
and the public's just dancing along to it. Yeah, I think the performance goes over pretty well. Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Sorry about that.
Playboy Club.
It could have been. Yeah,
Hefner was there, and there's some cute chicks in it, man.
Well,
I was kind of young in that period.
Yeah, so they did a recording of that here in addition to some live performances, and that's essentially my thoughts. It's serviceable enough for the material that they knew, and then for the material that they didn't know, it's evident as to why it wasn't included on the album proper. I mean, fine enough for bonus tracks for those who are really into this era. I just happen not to be one of those people. I wouldn't go back and listen to it again, even though they're my favorite band. I do have a limit.
Yeah, this is the limit. All right. Well, Sam, what's your take on this quarter?
So this is probably has 2 of my favorite Peter Green covers, Sugar Mama and Homework. And there are multiple versions out there you can find. There's a Sugar Mama live in Amsterdam in late 1969 that's absolutely phenomenal. And it's similar to this, and I mean his vibrato is like crazy on here. And one thing I do like about the mix is they keep the guitar players consistent. Like if Danny's singing, then his guitar's in the middle and Peter's on the left. If Peter's singing, then his guitar's in the middle and Danny's is on the left. So they do a good job there. I just wish that they would have taken that center guitar and panned it right and put the rhythm section in the center. And that would be, your classic live mix that, has been pretty standard since this period, really. But, the version in Amsterdam's awesome because he goes on this sort of long psychedelic trip with a bunch of reverb on his guitar and then brings it back at the end. So you can see, I've said this before probably, but I think that in this summer I've been really into the Grateful Dead, and I think that Jerry Garcia in particular influenced Peter Green a lot. And you can really hear that on Then Play On, and then those late 69 tours where they start jamming more. And Homework, and actually I think that version of Homework you're talking about is from a French club.
It is a French club, okay.
Yeah, because there is the Playboy After Dark, but that was Rattlesnake Shake and what was Danny Kerwin's song? Coming
was it
Your
like
Way.
It This Way? One of those, yeah.
Yeah, sure. and there's only a snippet of it there at the end, but Homework, and there's a Jeremy Spencer song that they played at that club, but a lot of times those videos were packaged together in odds and ends and things like that. But I love that. Also, I posted on on YouTube years ago, you can still find it, the Clifford Davis single of Homework. Where Peter Green, I think, is playing all the instruments.
Every single one of them, to my understanding, yes.
Yeah, and that's actually a killer version, and makes me sad because I always wanted to know what he recorded for his original debut album that he spent like a week in the studio, and nobody's ever heard the recordings. I mean, knowing him, he probably burned them, or something, because funny, somebody said earlier in the 90s Peter was critical of this record, and I'm thinking, what wasn't he critical of?
Yeah, true.
Especially in the 1990s. I mean, Danny Kerwin too, the same. They were just like, oh, we weren't any good. But that's ridiculous that they would think that. But and then those two, I did hear the Blackjack Blues. I thought it sounded like maybe Willie Dixon was out of tune, but I don't know. I'd have to re-listen to that. But if he was the one complaining about it, or maybe Jeremy wasn't in, but there's a sax on there. I don't know. But the long story short, Sugar Mama, Homework, two of my favorites, and I think they do a serviceable job, especially having Otis Spann on piano. Jeremy played piano on that French TV version. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing him up there on a piano. So that's pretty much what I have. Check out that 1969 Amsterdam concert, because that's a killer. They might even play Homework that night too.
Yeah, when I was a kid and I had this album, Homework was the song I always listened to. That was the one that I just really loved from the album. And I feel like the digital version has a lot, like, once again, the talking, and that the version on here that I remember from as a kid was a lot, just the song.
Yeah.
So let me read you guys Tony's notes on volume 2 here. Tony said, the second disc is preferred for me, since it features 3 great Danny moments, including the entire set's best tune, Like It This Way, which was a great call and response guitar duel by Kerwin and Green, and some killer piano by Otis Spann.
Yes.
Spann's own vocals here on Someday Soon Baby and Hungry Country Girl are great, but not as great as his incredible piano licks. He died a couple years after this recording at too young an age. But it was before recording the biggest thing since Colossus with Green, Kerwin, and McVie for Blue Horizon in 1969. It's one of the best blues albums by an artist during that period. The rest of the songs on disc 2 are enjoyable. Homework is a great way to end the sessions, and on Rockin' Boogie, Spencer charms everyone. Overall, a great set of tunes with only occasional lapses in momentum. That this was cut live is impressive given the clarity of the playing. The 2 disc is a must for Mac fans, seriously. So that's Tony's opinion. We did it, you guys. We actually had a podcast about Blues Jam at Chess, and I feel like we justice for Blues Jam. I think we did the best we could. I'm so glad you guys showed up. How do you rank this album, though, Nick? Blues Jam at Chess, scale of 1 to 10.
Usually I give pretty favorable reviews. For this one, I can mostly do without it. I just didn't connect with the material in the same way. If we were ranking this amongst the studio albums, I would probably only put it above Time. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10, which would probably hurt Tony heavily. So maybe it's for the best that he's not here to witness it in person, but he'll probably wince once he listens to the podcast in proper.
All right, Sam, what's your ranking of this one?
I don't know where to put this.
So I kind of think of this as it's unique. It's not the fact that this and Then Play On were recorded in 1969
right
shows you how different they approached record making after moving on from Blue Horizon. So to me, I almost want to throw this in as like a live recording. They're not punching in. They're not doing overdubs. They're not going back to go do songs over. These are all live off the floor takes. And I think if you consider that, this is a pretty fantastic live album. I mean, it not only is it live, but it sounds like it's recorded in a studio, because it was. So you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting live off the floor playing group of people that aren't used to playing with each other, and then really showing you what it would be like in a blues club with that high fidelity recording. So I really don't put this in as a studio album. I would say it's probably more like their first official live album that's Fleetwood Mac and Friends. And
sure.
So I would give it an 8.
An 8? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that I would change about it, and it's more technical. And I'm not going to punish it for all the banter. I feel like there should be a banter version, and then just give me the meat.
Yeah. The meat and the sides, the two different versions.
Yep, there you go.
All right, Jim, what do you give this one?
Yeah, an 8.9.
Oh,
It's just the fact that it exists is amazing. They've talked about the Rolling Stones did record here in the chess, but they didn't interact with the blues players. So, I mean, it's like something that Fleetwood Mac dared to do.
yeah.
They were accepted. They were really accepted, and they held up with, even though it was maybe the B team of the. Spawn's great, and Leary and J.T. Brown, the sax. I think he's the sax player. These are good players, excellent. And if there was more, bigger stars in the blues world, maybe it would have been too many cooks in the kitchen and
Yeah.
might have not worked. So, I mean, they all took turns and they were very professional, and they put down some pretty good historical tracks. Just a good effort, and just it would have been in the nines, 9.4 or something, but they kind of tailed off. It kind of like petered out at the end, but it's just a big. it's
Was
a
that
big
pun
collection.
intended? Was
Yeah.
that pun intended, Jim? Petered
What?
out at the
And
end.
Peter greened out at the
Yeah.
Correct, yes.
Those are the two strongest
No.
songs.
All right, so
No, I didn't. Nothing against.
Just say yes, it was intentional.
Jim, you gave it an 8.9. Sam, you were
Yeah.
8. What was yours again, Nick?
I was a 5 out of 10.
Oh, 5. Shit. Well, oh man.
Also, I would be remiss if I didn't add this real quick. Maybe it was actually Honey Boy that was out of tune on Blackjack Blues, because, I mean, to me, Willie Dixon is like upper echelon of blues writers and bass players. So I'm not gonna. I'd never suggest that he was out of tune.
No, of course not. But maybe if it is taken in the context of a live album, kind of going off of what you were saying earlier, I could very well be more charitable. It's just that when there's a studio recording, it comes with a level of expectations, and their approach wasn't really conducive to maybe the polish that the band's associated with, especially from Then Play On onwards. Just based on the fact that it is within the band's discography, a bit of a black sheep in the way that it was approached. That might be one of the reasons why I'm not too fond of it. And plus, I was grateful once we were able to move on from the pure straight ahead blues,
For sure.
no frills whatsoever. I mean, they're very competent. I can understand just the caliber of the playing on there. The fact that they were able to go through these in a couple of takes and still able to sound relatively professional, that they have all these great solos on there, I think it's a testament to their capabilities as musicians. Not what I want from the band, though.
It's interesting though. You think about this band's discography, like, you had Then Play On was released, then this, and then Kiln House was next, right? If you're doing like
Mhm.
chronological.
In terms of how they were released, but as we established, it makes more sense if you take into account that this was mostly recorded before Then Play On was, yes.
But even like if you were like CV Nicks and listen to all the band's albums, the same band that released Blue Sandwich Chest released Time, released Behind the Mask, Tangle in the Night, like all these albums, like Heroes Are Hard to Find. Like we did every one of them. Like concluding this podcast, like we talked about every song on every one of these albums. And is there another podcast out that covered every song on every Fleetwood Mac album? I don't know.
I mean, there are some podcasts that have gone through every one of their studio albums. I think Tastes Like Music, they did a 3-hour podcast talking about them, but they didn't dedicate per se 3 hours on their Then
to
Play
each
On
album, right?
Exactly right. Maybe there are a few others out there, but I'm glad that at the very least that there is at least some material out there for those, say, 50 years from now to hear the thoughts on these works of material that we really connect with.
Right. And
for the most part, we connect with them.
I mean, there's always the music, there's the stories from the band, but I think having people that this music was part of our lives, and like
Definitely.
Jim's stories about how he saw Stevie in the record store, and Sam stories with your dad, and Nick making covers for your friends, and me riding in Atlanta on the subway, the only thing I owned was like a pair of pants and a Tusk CD and a Discman at that time in my life. So like we all have our stories of Fleetwood Mac, and not only do we tell the band stories, but we told our own on this podcast.
Exactly. That's
Yep.
how you keep the music alive. Otherwise, these bands become footnotes. And I
Yep.
think that of the bands in the, say, rock era, I think based on the current trajectory, Fleetwood Mac does seem to be on pace to have some level of longevity, and that they probably will be discussed for at least a decent amount of time.
Right.
Them along with the Beatles, the Eagles. I mean, Fleetwood Mac, they're still on the charts right now, especially in the UK with their 50 Years Don't Stop album. I mean, it's in the top 10 pretty much every single week, with the exception of maybe one or two here and there. So it just demonstrates that people that are in my generation, for example, are still listening to The Chain. They're still listening to Go Your Own Way. And they're also discovering some of their more obscure material. Just with the advent of streaming services, you can now listen to these songs completely uninhibited. Whereas previously you had to go to the record store and then keep your fingers crossed, hoping that you could find some of their more obscure material, like Penguin, where I remember hearing you guys saying that it took a decent amount of time for you guys to find that album. But I could just type in Penguin in the search engine. It's right there. I can listen to Night Watch wherever.
They had the cutout in it. They had the little cutout because it was in the bargain bin.
There you go, right? So I think that it just demonstrates their longevity and the fact that they still have this wonderful legacy and a wonderful discography to speak of and just to show to the rest of the world. And I'm very grateful for that.
All right. Any other parting thoughts from anybody as we wrap up the Fleetwood Mac series after 3 seasons? 3 seasons of this.
I'm kind of sad.
Well, I would say that it used to be it was really difficult to find, especially live recordings, and the Boston Tea Party, which was, what do they call it when it's not like black market, gray market? Where it might be kind of real, but that was like released at some point, and I had a knockoff CD version of that in the early 2000s, and it was like a revelation to me. I think that word's oratorio or oration or something like that. Anyway, that I was thinking of before, but
that's right.
Yeah. Anyway, but like you're saying, all this stuff is available now. You just might have to sift through some studio banter, which could be tough when it comes on Spotify somewhere, And so, Jeremy, what did you rate this album?
Oh shit, I guess a 7. Like I feel like I forgot to rank the album. I feel like it's not essential. I feel like the concept of a young white band from England meeting the black musicians that inspired them conceptually is so rich.
Yeah.
I feel like in the studio it wasn't very rich. Like it was just kind of I feel like neither of them brought out a magic in the other, and it was kind of standard. But it doesn't hurt at all. It doesn't hurt, but it also doesn't break any ground. I don't know.
Generally, I'm happy that this album does exist for the people who want a kind of a snapshot into what the band sounded like in very early 1969. For that, it's incredibly valuable. And the fact that they did have the opportunity to play with their idols, especially with Jeremy Spencer, he was more or less reveling in that opportunity, and you could definitely tell in his tracks on that album. Tony thought otherwise. I thought that his was amongst the strongest.
And get this book, or at least borrow it somewhere somehow, because I mean it is great. I mean, maybe it made me like or appreciate it even more. But
that's mostly photographs, correct? And that was the photographer.
There's a lot of text. There's a lot of text in it.
Yeah. Okay, good to know.
And also, like, I'm not a big fan of the blues, so if anything, this album made me aware of some of these artists that I might not have been aware of. So they did, I'm also like a big Emmylou Harris fan, and part of her magic is she makes you aware of songwriters you didn't know. She'd always cover the best songwriters. So I feel like on this album, Fleetwood Mac were huge fans of all these guys. And, now I'm a little inspired to check out their work, which I should. Like, it's the history of blues. So, for a piece of education, this is also great. So, you know what? I'll give it an 8. I'm giving it an 8 instead of 7. It's history.
And I think it did do a good job of spreading out some variety. You know, it's not just every mid-tempo shuffle. I mean, there's a lot of variety on there too.
It wasn't Mr. Wonderful side 2.
Right.
All right. Well, Jim, do you have any parting thoughts?
Well, kind of sad that this little chapter, big chapter, is ending, and thanks Jeremy and everyone for, just taking these evenings every month or so to do this. Appreciate that, and it was fun. It's fun. It made me appreciate the band a lot deeper. There's a hell of a story. There should be a mini series of some sort.
Yep.
I mean, they can take pieces like the fake Fleetwood Mac up until maybe where they hit the road and they were becoming popular with the White Album. That would be a pretty good film. Yeah. I mean, kind of grungy. They were running around in Cadillacs. They were just
the Mexican restaurant
around. Yeah, I mean, that would be an excellent movie thing.
Stevie trying to clean the apartment around Lindsay.
Trying to clear the table off before the band sat down. She's in her flapper uniform, if I'm not mistaken, for that encounter at the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, but this was fun. I hope we keep in contact.
We certainly will. This panel is not done because this is a panel that will always be able to do guest spots because there's so many things I still want to touch on, and I hope you guys stick around for those.
Yeah, we kind of need a break. I think Jeremy, you certainly need a break.
Oh shit! Can you tell? Jesus,
you do this every week. I mean,
I did 52 episodes this season.
Yeah, and I approach this as just each song I'll just look at it with new ears and write a few notes. Some is kind of funny and some are really serious, but kind of this was great. I hate to even look at my early ones. I probably was a disaster.
Do we think we're gonna meet again for a new Stevie album next year? Do you think that's in the cards?
There was like something in the spring.
The Ghost album.
The Ghost album. There hasn't been anything. She's touring, and Stevie's doing. She's not an embarrassment. She has to sing differently because she's older.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd response is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Sam, will we see you for the Stevie album? Probably not, right? You're not a Stevie fan at all, right?
No, I mean, I'm a fan of her.
Okay.
I wouldn't call myself an expert by any means, so.
All right.
My expertise probably lies in just the band proper, a lot of Lindsay's material too, and then a little bit of Christine's, some of Mick's here and there. Stevie, a bit of a blind spot, and I would like the opportunity to discuss some of her work and an excuse to do so for that matter too.
Well, those Stevie podcasts are where it all started because we did all the Stevie albums. Then it's like, I'm like, well, we might as well do the Fleetwood Mac, and then the rest is history.
And I'm also very grateful that we do have the platform to discuss the music that really means a lot to us. Because as is evident through the podcast, we've been spending multiple hours just per a single album, 12 tracks, and it just demonstrates the value that it's presented us, how much there is to discuss for that matter. So I do want to extend my gratitude for giving us all of this opportunity.
Well, I think the Then Play On one is definitely a legendary podcast. I mean, that was 3 hours long, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
I just remember at the end of the night, I'm like, I'm so tired. And there was like 6 more songs to go still. The English edition that had more tracks.
And we didn't even get the opportunity to talk about somebody's going to get their head kicked in tonight. I think that was the one B-side we didn't get the opportunity to talk about.
Nick, finish it off. What are your thoughts on someone's going to get their head kicked in tonight?
It's a fun novelty track, and I don't think there was really much to discuss there. I think it was the B-side to Man of the World.
Yep.
And I think Jeremy mentioned that he did all the guitars on that, and he was able to bring in Peter and Danny to do the backing vocals. There was some cover of that a couple years afterwards. Was it from the Rizzos or something like that? Or the Lizards, maybe something along those lines. And apparently Jeremy really disliked what they did with it.
Now, let me ask really quick. You guys said there was a version of Homework where Peter played everything. Was that credited to Fleetwood Mac?
It was Clifford Davis.
So Clifford Davis.
A side and B side. I think he did
Something
Before the
down by the
Beginning.
river or something, was
Yeah,
it?
that was the second variant, and then he also did Before the Beginning, and then there was
Okay.
Man of the
another
World.
side to that, and Man of the World, correct. So
Yeah.
he did 4 songs in total. The first 2, I think he had an orchestra backing. I'm not
Oh.
as familiar with the others.
So
And then,
yeah, the two he did Man of the World, and the flip side was Before the Beginning, and they just took the backing tracks from the previously recorded versions and added some strings and Clifford's voice. And
Mhm.
then Peter played all the instruments on Homework, and then it was another cover,
Yes.
something like Down by the River or something. And
Mhm.
Peter played all the instruments on both of those. And it was towards the end of his time in Fleetwood Mac. That's why I brought up that uh, he had gone into the studio by himself, kind of
Oh,
like
Mhm.
Prince, pretty much,
yeah.
to
Mhm.
record his own album, and nobody's ever heard those tapes. And Sandy Mary was supposed to be one of the songs.
Well, I like that.
Yeah.
I think we need to give a little bit of a shout out before we sign off to some of the people that were part of the Fleetwood Mac journey. Let's not forget Alicia and Nathan that certainly added the flavor to those episodes. We have Roland, Stephen Larner,
Oh man,
Tony and John, and then of course everybody here. And there were other people that came and went, but
Mhm.
I'm tired, so I'm so sorry for
There was
whoever.
that one music critic who jumped on for the Say Will podcast.
Yeah,
Remember
that's
that?
right. Yep. All right. Well, gentlemen, we will stay in touch. I will see you all on email or Facebook, wherever we talk. And
well, Jeremy, send me.
yes.
My email is all cluttered. Could you just send me a message? You got my phone number, or I think we talked back and forth a little bit when we met up.
Yeah,
So
I'll send you a text.
yeah, because I'll see that.
Okay. All
Because
right.
this could be 3-4 months from now, and
I will,
and
Jim, I will never leave you out. You're, you're like, I'm going to put you on the airplane like Mick did with Christy McVie and make you come to Fleetwood's and eat a bowl of clam
yeah,
chowder.
yeah. I mean, this is a great relationship. And
Yeah.
music brought us together. Different people, different backgrounds. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I'm going to post this tonight and I will see you guys in 2026. Have Lord
Yeah,
willing or
someday.
whatever, log willing, whatever you believe in.
Stevie's waiting.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for having me.